Newsologist. One world, many views. Yes, some of them. Question time. Pmq. Pmq Truss v Starmer. Realistically, it should have been stopped after 2 or 3 minutes and given to Truss. Starmer was totally ineffectual. Sounded like something from 20 or 30 years ago. The same old tired expressions, the same old hard working people. Doesn't seem to grasp the things that he stipulates aren't correct. Truss, and that was her first time, was a little bit unsteady to start with, but she had the key talking points, and basically she just filleted Starmer. She just took Starmer apart. He kept coming back with working people will have to pay for this. Well, isn't that true about everything? Working people have to pay for the NHS. Working people have to pay for Social Security. Working people have to pay for overseas aid. Working people have to pay for the military. Working people it goes on and on and on. Taxpayers in the UK pay into a pot. That pot gets distributed. It's no different. What happened here was that Truss just basically took the 2 or 3 points that she had and just bopped Starmer every time he stood up. He looked ineffectual. He's got presence, Starmer, because obviously he's been a barrister or a lawyer or whatever it is in the legal profession that he was ending up as. But the problem is that the old words, they're meaningless, they're tired. He has no up-to-date answers for what's going on. Truss just came and just said, we're going to increase supplies. We're going to make it easier, better for companies to invest in the North Sea, oil and gas. We're going to increase the number of nukes. We're going to take some tax off. We're going to reduce the VAT on the lecky and stuff like that. And we're going to reduce the NIC. We're going to give people back some of the money that they've paid and let the people decide what they spend it on. Yeah, sounds pretty good. Starmer keeps jibber-jabbering on about excess profits. Excess this, excess profits. Windfall this, windfall that. If they make more than these excess profits. This is just commie talk. It's just, you're going to decide that if you make X that you made 2 years ago in a downturn of a market, that's all you can make. That's not going to be an incentive for companies to go out, explore, develop, construct, install and produce in the North Sea. Companies want and basically need some sort of commitment from a government that there's going to be a stable tax structure, that if they bump up and get more money in profit, that the government's just not going to come along and sweep it all up. Why would anybody do that? Why would you work harder if the government's just going to take all of the money that you make? Now, understand the windfall profit is you're not really working harder. It's just the prices, the ability of the world prices going up allows you to make more money. Okay, you make more money. The company is more successful, allows it to develop more. The government has various means to divert that profit into more investment into the North Sea. The government gives the companies tax breaks for doing. The government allows tax breaks for capital works, which means that the oil and gas companies can reduce their tax bills if they spend some of that, inverted commas here, excess profit or any profit on capital works. That would mean more supply from the North Sea. Yes, the supply from the North Sea is finite, but there's still decades and decades of oil and gas available out there. Norway just put a new installation in last year, and that's scheduled to go for another 30 to 40 years, producing up to 1.5 million barrels of oil and gas per day. Now, it won't be producing it at that level for those many years, but there's large amounts. The oil and gas companies, most of them, work worldwide. Why put money into the UK and get taxed at an excessive rate when you can put that money to work elsewhere in the world? The big companies have divested themselves of lots of assets in the North Sea. BP sold the Forties field years ago to Apache. Shell has decommissioned the Brent fields and it's sold off some of the northern fields that it had. ExxonMobil, that had the Beryl field, has sold that to Apache. ConocoPhillips has sold out its assets in the North Sea. These are major companies. BP, Shell, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips. These companies have moved. They've sold and hid their chips in and sold off and taken the money, and they've moved that money to other places in the world where they can get a better rate of return, ROI. These are major companies. Now, they've been replaced by second-tier companies, and the UK should be grateful for these companies to have taken them over. These companies will try and sweat those assets and increase the production and cut costs and do things which the oil majors are either incapable of or reluctant to do. But installing new jackets, new production facilities, new platforms in the North Sea is an extremely expensive operation. The majors, in most cases, are best suited for it. The second tier companies which take these past their peak fields over sometimes do major modifications, and Apache has done a lot of work on 40s to extend and increase the production way past the time that BP thought that it would end. But BP's out there using that money to get bigger fields, newer fields. If Liz Truss does what she's touted in PMQs, then it augurs well for North Sea oil and gas investments. What I would imagine is she'll change the tax structure, or she'll try and funnel some of the excess profits, the Starmer would say, into trying to increase the production. That's a far more productive and effective way to use the money than just to splurge it by reducing the bills for a short time. If Britain is energy independent, which it's capable of being, then that puts the country in a far better balance of payments situation. At the moment, we're importing a lot of the gas from Norway. It would be better if we could increase our own supplies. Truss also bopped Starmer and basically saying he doesn't understand aspiration, and he doesn't understand opportunity, and he doesn't understand that people want to keep their own money. Starmer's been there for a few years as the leader of the opposition, so he's comfortable in that position. You would have expected a far better shown. Truss, new to the position, a little bit shaky. She can only basically, I would imagine, grow in confidence and stature as the realisation of the PM authority takes hold. If Starmer can't realistically grapple Truss at this stage, where she's like in embryonic phase of being PM, it doesn't bode well for him in the future. By the sounds of it, Truss is going to come back to the 2 or 3 talking points, and she's just going to ram them down Starmer's throat. He's got no answer to them. The Labour Party's got no answer to them, because what she's stating is basically invest, grow the economy, make the pie bigger, make the pizza bigger, grow the pie. All that Starmer comes along with is divide the pie up differently. He's got no suggestions on how to make the pie bigger. All Starmer says is that we should cut the pie up this way and that way, and these people should get that slice, and we should take a slice off that person because they've got too much pie and give it to all of these other pies. Well, yeah, there's an element of that in all parties' redistribution. Tax situation. The tax in the UK is a redistribution system. It's the same in most countries. In liberal democracy, Western type countries, it's a redistribution system. There's a fundamental difference between Truss and Starmer. Truss wants to make the pie bigger. She wants to do that by using the money, excess profits, and she's prepared for a time to fund the high energy prices by borrowing a few more $100 billion. The debt which the UK has, to my mind, is excessive and too much. But as long as you can keep the interest rates down, and as long as you don't spook the markets by borrowing too much and people will not buy the government bonds, then the debt is sustainable, if you want to use that term, or manageable would be better at the rates which are being paid. It's a gamble. Everything is a gamble. It's a risk. The far bigger risk for Truss would be just to swipe all of the money off the table in the excess profits, dole it out to people to keep their bills down, and at the end of it, have no more production in the North Sea. Her strategy makes more sense to me. Her strategy is, okay, we've got excess profits. What can we do with them? We can do one or two things. We can pay everybody and reduce their bills, or we can try and use that money to grow the economy, to grow the number of producing platforms in the North Sea, to perhaps use some of that money to fund for nuclear power stations. The problem with the nuclear power stations is they take an inordinate length of time to be engineered and constructed. We're looking in the decades before anything meaningful will change with the nukes. The increase in the North Sea, even if you do a rush programme, you're looking at a couple to 3 years to see any meaningful change. There's a design cycle, there's a construction cycle. If you throw money at it, you can reduce those times. But Truss's game plan is reasonably simple. Take the excess profits, try and plough it into making the economy bigger. If the economy's bigger, you'll garner more taxes at the end of the day. Those taxes will more than compensate for the amount that you're borrowing. Bear in mind that the capital that you're borrowing is never going to be paid back. People should realise that. All you're talking about is the interest payments on it. The interest payments are within normal bounds at the present time. Interest rates on gilts less than 3%. So PMQs, it was okay. Maybe it didn't need to be stopped, but Starmer didn't land a blow on Truss. Truss was a bit wobbly at the start, but she got her talking points and she just rammed them into Starmer. I mean, at one point she just said, yeah, that's all Labour knows what to do: tax people more. I mean, you've got the makings of a rout on Starmer. He's totally ineffectual. His talking points are, just the age-old hard working people, And there is lots of hard working people in the UK across the board. But you want to try and make things better for their kids, have more jobs for their kids, more job opportunities, make the pie bigger. That's what Truss was saying. Make the pie bigger. Starmer just moved things round the plate. Never said anything meaningful. So if I was grading it, I would say an easy win for Truss. Starmer might as well just send a cardboard cutout just with some sort of speaking bubbles. He's slow. He's not on his toes. He's dull. So yeah, easy win for Truss. Truss. Make the pie bigger. Time to put the kettle on.